Hello, welcome friends. It is Spoken Magic time. This is a super good, wonderful, lovely, fun game. There are a lot of you here. I'm so glad you're all here. Uh, I, but yeah, um, yeah, this is a super wonderful, lovely, great game about saying words and the words being magic. It's by friend of the channel and friend of the Lauren, Dylan slash at Anarisis on Twitter, Twitch, all the things, the social medias. Hey Levi, welcome. It's nice to see you. Yeah. So, as some of you may know, although I think there are lots of new folks here today, this is right now you can get Spoken Magic and 7 other exciting games in this great bundle on itch.io. 7 games for $15. And to celebrate that, I've been this entire month and also on Thursday as well. Been streaming all of the games to show them off. You can see that after the stream is over. I have a collection on Twitch, and I also most of them are up on my YouTube. I don't think I have Lost up yet, but and one of the things that we've been doing with these games is that I have created a persistent campaign out of these 7 games. We started with Session 0 by Megan Cross. We created Zsofia and her hometown of Baratsk, her family, why she's traveling, all that kind of stuff. Then we went into the Land Whispers. Zsofia made her kind of first attempt at making a new home, and met a cute runaway noble couple who they built a home together for a while, and then kind of disagreed about magic. And when it started to become clear that Zsofia kind of had a bit of a magic affinity, and Lajos and Josef wanted to start a family, and they had a child. And it was kind of very clear at that point that she needed to find her own way and give them that space. So we then moved into Steading by Anna Landin. Steading is a game about witches creating a new home. So we settled her finally in the town of Tiza, where she learned what this magic that she had suddenly kind of awoken to was, how it works, and we learned that her magic her magic manifests itself in the baked goods she makes. And we gave her a nice little home in the town of Tiza. Then we went to Like No One Ever Was by Geekologian. And because that is a game about going on an adventure with your animal companion to kind of become a master at something, and we had finally found Zsofia a home, I didn't want to then uproot her again. So we took a side character that we met during Steading, who was named Ferenc, who's a farmer. And Ferenc, we learned, was the former apprentice of the previous town witch, Attila. And he had stopped and become a farmer, but he wanted to kind of fulfill Attila's dying wish. He's not really dead. He kind of is like now alive in the house, but Ferenc doesn't know that. And so, yeah. He and his trusty dog, Bela, went on an adventure to the library of the College of Witches to fulfill Attila's dying wish. And as he was going, in order to be recognized as somebody who can enter the College of Witches, he had to learn how to use his magic. Attila has very different magic. It's not Attila. Ferenc has very different magic. It's empathetic magic. And Bela, who also has kind of an innate empathetic magic, became his familiar. They traveled around for a really long time, strengthening themselves and building their bond. They finally made it to the end of their journey to the College of Witches, at which point, to put Attila's, like, kind of, it was an object of power into the heart of the college. One of Attila's old enemies, named Arpad, showed up and tried to trap Ferenc in an unending labyrinth below the college, and we played Lost by Quintessential Gaming, which is a really cool solitaire-based game, and that was a game that is supposed to be a game that you usually lose, because solitaire is very luck of the draw, and if you're unlucky with the way the cards are dealt, then you just lose it. But miraculously, I won, which I was not expecting. And so what I was going to do to tie this all together was that Zsofia was going to come and rescue Ferenc. But Ferenc has rescued himself, sort of. He rescued himself. He avenged his master. But I think it's been so long since Ferenc has left, that Zsofia has still gone to find out what's going on, because she doesn't... We'll talk a little bit about why she has to leave and stuff as we get in the games and how all of that works. What I'm really interested with this game is that we have established that Zsofia bakes magic. And this is about speaking magic. So we're gonna find some reasons why this works. This is one of the, like, kind of fun things about anthology play. But let's go over to the game. Once again, this is my second time playing Spoken Magic on the channel. Once again, thank you so much. See you around, Levi. Thank you so much to Dylan for gifting me this beautiful Roll20 that he made up for the game. I'm sure it will be on the Roll20 marketplace at some point, but I'm really excited for it. So, In order to go the game, we can kind of skip a lot of the beginning stuff about kind of character creation because, well, we don't have to create a character. We have Zsofia. Um, but what I am gonna look at is we're gonna use this excuse to make some more stuff. So the first thing that we have to do, her name is Zsofia. We know this. I'll put it on this here. Ew. Gosh. Roll 20. More fonts, please. Zsofia. Oh, I was gonna name her Biro, because that is my grandmother's maiden name. It means judge, which is not really aesthetic for this game, but it is important to me. So, and yes, for those of you who don't know, if you're watching this for the first time because you just wanted to watch some, oh wow, you can see my, one sec, let me fix that. If you just wanted to watch some sweet spoken magic, definitely check out all the other games, but I have been making this setting extremely Hungarian because I wanted to explore that kind of part of my heritage. And it is actually, I think, the birthday of one of the most important Hungarian folklore writers. And so in Hungary today, there are a lot of like cool folklore storytelling events. So hopefully we can do that a little justice based on my limited knowledge of Hungarian folklore. But yeah, so the first thing we do when we play this game is they have their name, and then we select a card at random from the Arcanum deck to describe what the nature of their words is. Our words are profane? No. No. X card. That, I think that would be super cool in a different game, but not in this setting. Words are elemental. I've got that before. You know what? I'm sorry, Dylan. I'm breaking your game. I just want something a little more interesting. Whew! Your words are formed from nothingness. I like the sound of that. Yeah, I super like the sound of that. So, now that we have our kind of magic, we say one thing about our character. So I think, what happens is, what are we gonna say? I think her words are formed from nothingness, and I think what happens is that one day she's trying to figure out how to make spells work, like, kind of on the go. For what she needs. Right now she does a lot of, like, healing and, like, buffing of stuff, but she's trying to explore more about this stuff. And Attila, who is the spirit of the former witch in her house, kind of talks about how when he was young, or when he was corporeal, let's put it that way. When he was corporeal, he used to inscribe sigils on little clay discs because he was a potter. And when you broke the disc, you could use the magic. And he said he got this an idea from his what's the word, like journeyman, like the person he apprenticed under, who was a calligrapher and who would write kind of like in the same way that like Shinto talismans work. She would write the words into existence, like write the magic into existence. And so Zsofia is trying to put her own spin on it. And so I think what she does is make cookies. And she's experimenting with cookies. That if you eat the cookie, you can then do the magic. They're like spell scrolls in D&D, but they're cookies. Which makes them extremely better in every way. Sorry, Wizards of the Coast. But yeah, she makes cookies with spells in them. And I think the words, like, they just kind of come to her head as she's making the dough and as she's like kind of inscribing the sigil. She inscribes the word in and yeah, I think that's what happens, is that they just kind of come to her head. They're not any words that have ever been told before. They just happen. So now let's draw 6 words. Oh, you know what? This does need a dice roller. I forgot there were dice in this game. Let me real quick. Nobody's here. Let me real quick fix that up. And put a dice roller on the screen. 'Cause we need one. Let's make that a little bigger. Yeah. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. There we go. I forgot all about the dice. Whoops. Pro streaming. That's what you have come to expect from me. No. Shoot. That was... There we go. Look, I did it. I fixed it. I might edit that out later, but yeah. So, we're gonna draw 6 words, and see what happens. So we got Relbor, and I think I have to decide what the words mean now. Yeah. Yarun. Jaror. Can I make it so you can see them all? Let's just put that there. Dalmar. We got Gull. We got Destati. So these words sure are some words. So last time I did it based on like the way the words sounded, and I'm interested now to like look at some of these symbols that Dylan has made. So I'm seeing like a little lightning symbol. And like a person. So that kind of makes me think it's like an electricity kind of spell. Yeah, this kind of looks like up here to me. So let's say Dalmar is, and I'm gonna do another, like, little cheat sheet for myself. Don't know if I can do this in a place that you can see, but I'll put it here. So, I'll use the same font because that's important to me. Dalmar is a storm. No, that's not what I wanted. Dalmar is a storm. Gull still sounds really windy to me. So I think I'm gonna, and looks kind of windy to me based on, that looks, yeah, that all looks extremely like windy to me. So let's do wind. Destati is, that's not how I make them big. I think Destati, that looks kind of fiery to me. That looks like a person or like a bird, like a little snake. Yeah. I was gonna say Destati like makes you feel warm on the inside. Like it doesn't make a fire, but it warms you internally. I think like formed from nothingness, it's like I can't use anything else. It just kind of, it happens. There are no the effect is self-contained and on its own. I can't like take advantage of the storm clouds in the sky already or something. I just make storm clouds appear in the sky. Relbor. This looks like somebody flying. This looks like the letter L in cursive. I think the spell is a flight spell. Relblor. Good job. Oh. Pressed a button. I opened up the scary part of a browser. It's gonna bother me that that's... Yarun. I don't know about that one. I'm gonna think about it while I think about Jaror. We got Jaror last time. I think it was like a fiery spell. That looks like an angry goat. Like an angry cow. Is this an angry cow summoning spell? Yeah. It's extremely an angry cow summoning spell. Every time anybody else plays this game, they're always like, it's so sad and intense, and I'm like, this summons angry cows. Whoops, sorry. Sorry, Dylan. Angry cow summoning. Alright, Yarun. Let's make Yarun something useful. Minotaur summoning. Ooh. So I feel like I was reading a Hungarian folktale today. And they were talking about, it was like a super long story, and you know, there was like a princess and the moon was involved and stuff. But one of the things was that this king of the deers, so some guy like decided not to kill the king of the deers because the deer was like, please don't shoot me. And he was like, I'm not gonna shoot a talking deer. And so he was like, in thanks, I will let you, I will grant you a wish. And he was like, I wish to be transported to my wife and children who are in terrible danger. And so he was like, well, I can't do that because I'm a deer, but I'll give you my horse. My horse is really, really fast. It's faster than any other horse because it has 24 legs, which is not how that works, but you know, whatever. And so they get on the 24-legged horse and they fly because I guess by being really fast, it just means it flies as opposed to runs and just happens to have 24 legs. Or maybe the 24 legs helps it fly. I don't know. When he arrives and meets his wife and son, who are like holed up in a cave, and there's like some kind of scary monster or wolf or something trying to fight them, or eat them or whatever, this 24-leg flying horse lands and breathes fire and kills the monsters. All this to say that I feel like an angry cow is extremely more on brand for that kind of just like, excuse me? Why? Why are you like this, Hungary? Than a Minotaur, which sounds extremely badass, but I don't know if it really fits the brand of a lot of Hungarian folklore that I've read. So, but Minotaur summoning is also extremely cool. So Yarun, that looks like a dead bug to me. That looks like a little tiny dragon. That looks like the letters L and X. That looks like a bass clef. Okay, I got it. This creates, like a little tiny, like dragonfly that can, like, send messages. Yarun is, like, instant message dragonfly. All right. There we go. We got our words. Now, I closed the rules because I am extremely silly. So the beginning. We draw the bottom card of the location deck. So and this tells us something about our home. Oblivion. What was lost? So we talk about the aspect of the home and why we're leaving. All right. So I think what is extremely obvious here, and there's nothing wrong with going with the obvious, is that what was lost was Ferenc. It's been a long time since they saw Ferenc. Clara Nani is extremely upset, and comes to Zsofia to kind of explain that she was really worried, that he's been gone, explain his past a little bit, that he has had some... I'm sorry, my glasses are extremely dirty. Explain some of his past a little bit, that he once was involved with magic, and that he, in his time before he left, had been getting really kind of quiet and introspective in a way that he hasn't since, or in a way that reminded her of when he was practicing magic with Attila. And that the only other thing of note missing from his room was this clay, like fired clay medallion about this big, I imagine, that Attila gave him before he died. So Zsofia says, that she'll try and see what she can do, but she's still learning her magic, and things are pretty limited, but she's gonna give it a go. So she, uh, as soon as Claude and Annie leaves, um, uh, Zsofia turns around to the, like, plate on the mantle where Attila's, like, consciousness rests, and says, okay, Attila, what's going on? Attila explains that about the college, and that it was, one day he hoped to have his mark of power put in the college, and he's very concerned because he says that he didn't really have much luck training Ferenc to control his magic, and that the college would never accept Ferenc. And that he was hoping to eventually ask Zsofia to make this journey years later. But now now she has now he has to go, or now and so he's extremely concerned, and Zsofia, I think, starts packing, and makes herself. Thank you for the host. Thanks for the host, Dylan. I hope I haven't ruined your game too much yet, but I've already kind of, I don't know, there's an angry cow summoning spell, so whoops. Yeah, so I think she's preparing. She takes a few days to kind of prepare. And if you'll remember, when we played Lost on Thursday, one of the things that happened was that one of Zsofia's peach turnovers that have magical healing powers, and the handkerchief that he had given her one day after she injured herself while visiting the farm, showed up in the spell, or showed up in the labyrinth that he was in. And I think what's happening is she's preparing, she's making some turnovers for probably like the blacksmith or something, to kind of like store for a couple days. They're magic, so they take a little bit longer to spoil. And she wraps one that she's going to take for the road in this handkerchief, which she has discovered is very good at keeping things keeping things fresh, and it's also like very good at keeping things protected, clean, and when things hurt, like sometimes when her hands are really tired, she'll wrap them in the handkerchief because it makes her feel better. She kind of understands now that this must be a little bit of his empathetic magic kind of bleeding into the handkerchief, since Attila has explained the nature of his magic. And she puts this handkerchief, kind of on a cloth or this handkerchief with the turnover on a counter, and the counter starts to glow, and like the turnover and the handkerchief like absorb into space, and kind of disappear. And Attila goes, "You just cast teleportation magic." And she was like, and Zsofia's like, "No, I don't think I cast teleportation magic. I have never baked a thing that teleports." And he says, "No, I think that your way of you were thinking about him when you put that down, and you made a weird noise in your mouth with your mouth, and that cast a teleportation spell. And I think you just teleported that to Ferenc. And the fact that it went through means that Ferenc is alive. And it's probably good that you gave him a turnover, because if he's hurt, he won't be hurt anymore." So that makes her feel a little bit better, but it also kind of makes things more dire. Like, you know, this is not just like, "Oh no, we have to find, like, we have to find this this guy's body." This is like, there's an actual like, we gotta find this guy and bring him home, and he is findable, which is extremely cool and happy. So yeah. So that's why she leaves, and that's what was lost. So now, the bulk of this game is, we draw a location card, we go to a new place, we find out what that is, what it's like, do a little kind of scene. Then a problem happens, we draw a problem card, and we solve the problem with magic. Yeah, and then we roll a dice for each word. Because I'm doing it kind of one player, we are going to use, and because generally the tone of this game has been, and this whole campaign has been, not dark and awful, I'm going to do success on a 5 or 6, which is different than the last time I played, where success was just on a 6. So let's go some places. Let's do it. We're gonna draw a card. This location card. This location card is Harrow's Hall. Why we linger. So I think Harrow's Hall is, this game's about to get real English. All these English places. Harrow's Hall, I think, is a big prayer house. Remember, in session 0, we talked a little bit about the religion that is practiced in this place, that Zsofia has kind of recommitted to herself to in her time away from home. And I think it does not exclude witches. like it's magic is not blasphemous to this, especially in this part of um, the country, where magic is not kind of like limited to the elite, or to an elite few. Magic is much more common in this part of the country. So Harrow's Hall, I think, is a big prayer house that like people go to from many different villages nearby. Tiza is too small to have its own prayer house. And so Harrow's Hall is kind of in a central location, and people go there to pray. And she is going there with her 6 cookies, her 6 word cookies. That's an important thing. Her magic cookies. She and she says a prayer for Ferenc, and she says a prayer for herself. She knows this is a really like hard journey. And she knows that she has some power because she can use magic. But you know, it's hard to bake on the road. So she's really just stuck with these spells that she has, and her own wits, and which are many. But and Ferenc, she knows, he's a strong, capable man, but she's worried about his magic, especially Attila kind of tells her about the dangers of empathetic magic and how difficult empathetic magic is to master. They, of course, don't know that he has mastered empathetic magic, especially with the help of his familiar Bela. But she doesn't know any of that, so she's worried and she's praying. And she spends a little bit of extra time after there's like a service. It's probably like a mid-afternoon service for farmers nearby, and she stays after a little bit longer and sings her own prayer. And now we got a problem. And that problem is from this deck. The Hollow Hunt. All players must contribute a word. That's what that says. Well, there's only one player, and I was already going to contribute a word. But yeah. So I think what happens here is the direwolves show up. There are direwolves in this wilderness we've talked about. And the direwolves are scary because they have these really blank eyes. They look like there's nothing inside them. A lot of the animals here look like they have some kind of, especially magical ones, look like they have some kind of intelligence. You know, especially the unicorns that Zsofia met in the past. definitely have seen definitely seem to understand, but these, and they're not even like instinct, they're just terror, they're just violence. um and they have this like kind of weird black, probably like a little smokiness coming out of their eyes. And something has riled them, and they come kind of and start circling around Harrow's Hall. Harrow Hall, I'm gonna call it because that sounds more Hungarian. Harrow Hall. And what do I want to, so, and she knows that something about there's something magically weird with these ones. And I don't want to summon an angry cow just yet, because I want to summon the angry cow at the perfect moment, and this is not the perfect moment for an angry cow. But I think let's say she casts Dalmar. Dalmar is the word that creates a storm. And I think as what happens is that there is like like a horse and cart nearby, and the wolves kind of go to lunge at this stable, this horse, where this horse is, and she takes her cookie and eats it, and then casts a storm right behind the wolf, and a flash of lightning strikes like right behind it, not on it, but it spooks the wolf enough that this dire wolf runs away, and the rest of the pack runs away. And it's now raining and kind of icky. And so she has to wait till the storm lets up. They all have to wait till the storm lets up. But they spend some time kind of in fellowship, and Zsofia makes some bread of protection, and they all partake in this bread, and like the edible version of the bread of protection, as opposed to the salt bread that she also makes a few loaves of salt bread to put in the windows of the prayer house. So that's the first. Oh, I totally forgot that you have to roll dice in this, so maybe none of that happens. Whoops. Man, it was gonna be so good, and then I forgot that I have to random chance. All right, 2. It's weak and partially effective. So I think there's no lightning, but the thunder and the rain kind of like spooks them, And they kind of tear through, but they destroy a big part of the fence around the hall. And she still makes the bread of protection, and she still kind of gives them bread as the storm comes out, and offers to help fix it. But they, when she shares that she's going to find, a lost farmer, these other farmers, some of them who know Ferenc, say, no, you need to go. You've done enough. And thank you. So that's what happens. All right, let's go to a new place. Actually, let's take a break. Well, first let's find out this place that we're going, because I already drew it. Sorceress Pass, the reason for our journey. So I will meditate on that. I mean, we've talked about the reason for this journey like a million times, so I guess she's just thinking a lot about Ferenc. But I'm going to take a quick 5-minute break. You should also take a quick 5-minute break. And I will be back very, very soon to find out what is going on. I will see you soon. Hello, I'm back. Playing more of that good spoken magic. Yeah. The Sorceress Pass. The scene prompt is reason for our journey. So I think this trip takes her actually through one of these magic scarred battlefields. That have previously been populated by these kind of like oxblood colored unicorns. And as she walks down what appears to be a road on this battlefield, no longer scared of these battlefields. She spent much time around them, even though this one has lots of bones and kind of very scary looking structures and machinery. I'm so sorry. She thinks about the last time she was on this. She was in a land like this, about the unicorns, about the magic land that she lived in for so long that the magic seeped into her. And about Ferenc and how she had slowly become more attuned to the magic around as she became more familiar with it. She always kind of found herself drawn to him in a strange way. And she thought it was just kind of like a little crush. But she wonders now if it was the magic in him calling out to her. Although part of her knows that the magic in him calling out to her and her having a crush on him are not mutually exclusive. But she doesn't really want to think about that right now. So But she wonders as she's walking whether he has ever felt her magic call out to him, and what it would be like to have two witches or two magically inclined people in one city. And then something bad happens, as it always does. On the brink of war, draw an additional problem. Love that. I love that a lot. Let's find out what this additional problem is. Fading wards. One word must be restorative or protective. Okay. So she's walking along this battlefield where some kind of horrible magic has scarred the land so much that nothing can grow there. And eventually these as she's walking, the kind of really the air in these scarred battlefields feels dead, like nothing is there. And as she is going, as she is continuing, the air starts to feel a little more alive, which is strange because the battlefield goes on for much longer. And as she starts to explore, as she starts to walk, she starts hearing things, and the very bones of the creatures on the battlefield start to shake and move, and things start clutching at her ankles, and she can see the bones of dragon armies and other and griffs and other horrible or griefs, other horrible things start to shake and piece themselves together, humanoids. And she's extremely concerned as she understands that there's some kind of necromantic magic here. And she runs through the field trying to find the place that feels the most alive. And when she's there, she finds several stone statues of people, all holding in a kind of circle, all holding about a fist-sized ruby. And all of the statues all of the rubies seem to be glowing, and the statues are warm to the touch, except for this one. I'm holding this ball of elastics because this is about the size that I imagine the ruby that they're holding. They're kind of holding it like this, sitting cross-legged. But one of these statues, the warmth is fading. So she's going to take her destati, and instead of eating it herself, she's going to try and feed it to this statue that looks like it has a working mouth. It's almost like these people have just kind of petrified and turned to stone. She's going to try and warm up this person with her cookie. She like you would be feeding, an invalid. She crushes it up and mixes it with some water, so it's kind of a mush, and she can essentially slide it down into this statue's mouth. 5! We do it! We win! Destati warms the statue, and the air feels dead again, and the sounds of rattling bones fade, and all is well. Let's find a new place. Hello. Let me see the card, please. Diamond River, a disagreement. So, Zsofia finally gets through this battlefield. The air feels normal again. Not too magical, but not oppressively dead. If you've ever been in a sound booth or one of those hyper soundproof rooms where the silence, it's so silent, it's deafening. That's what it feels like. In those battlefields, and a disagreement. There's nobody here. It's hard to have a disagreement when nobody's here. I think what happens is that the Diamond River is quite large. It takes a boat to cross. There are these two siblings who run this kind of boat that ferries people across, kind of rows people across, and both of them are tired and neither of them want to take her. but neither of them want to make her wait. And so they argue for a very long time over who should take her, and who should rest. And before Zsofia can suggest a solution, we get a problem happening. Hey Q, welcome. We've got Zsofia going to find out what happened with Ferenc, because Ferenc doesn't need to be saved, but we can, figure out what happened to him. But let's find out what happens at this river. Ooh, I like this. Dark thoughts given life. So the way this happens is, as they're arguing, the arguing gets more and more intense, to the point that Zsofia can't even get a word in edgewise. They refuse to let her wait. And she knows at this point that all she can do is let them argue. And she's about to walk further down the river to find if there's another way to cross. When the bank of the river starts splashing, and this horrifying monster comes out. These two of these horrifying monsters crawl out of the river and start one each attacking both each other and the siblings, and Zsofia doesn't know what to do. We're going to figure out what to do once with my spells. But I think one of the things that she realizes is that she wonders, she doesn't have too much experience with empathetic magic, but she wonders if this might be an effect of some kind of empathetic magic. There might be something in the water, or that is empathetic to this extremely loud argument between siblings. So we got all right, Destati's gone, and so is Dalmar. So we got no, not right now, thank you. We got wind, we got flight, we got instant message dragonfly, and we got angry cow summoning. Which one is gonna solve this problem? I think what solves this problem is wind. Zsofia notices that these creatures that are coming out of the water are actually just water themselves taken form. And she thinks that if she's able to blow them away, then they'll leave her alone and she can kind of like get these two to stop arguing. So that's what she's gonna try and do. Let's roll the dice. I rolled another 5. Hooray! It works. She eats her magic cookie that has the word gull inscribed on it, and is able to then create a storm. Or not a storm. We already had a storm, but is able to create a wind that blows away these creatures, scatters them back into water droplets. At which point she gives these two siblings a talking to, and says she is very happy to let both of them rest, and that she will take herself. And I think she fashions, I think there's like an old raft, and she fashions herself a little Breath of the Wild sailboat, and she uses the leftover remnants of her wind spell to push herself across the river, while these two siblings, feeling extremely scared and embarrassed that their argument caused such horrible things to happen, and they are now thinking about overworking themselves, possibly hiring somebody, a third person, and how to avoid this happening, and feeling very sheepish, and tending to each other's wounds. So that's that. Next place. Desert of Lost Bones. We were already in a Desert of Lost Bones, but I guess this is a second Desert of Lost Bones, why we made this. So I think she comes across, not a battlefield, but the site, like an old fort. It wasn't actually called a Desert of Lost Bones. That wasn't what the card was called, but I kind of described it as that. We're back in these in these magic scarred battlefields where nothing grows. But I think instead of this being a battlefield, this is the site of a great battle. There's an old citadel, an old destroyed citadel, and this is a part of the ancient wars that she knows well. This was where the awful calamitous magic that destroyed the land was birthed. This is the reason that magic is protected fiercely in her home region of Hortobad, and yeah, the whole place feels dark and foreboding. Is that same like dark, almost blood red stone, like old blood stained stone, and the whole thing just has an aura of not evil, but just utter destruction, and it's kept here in this region as a symbol of, I guess, the folly of trying to make magic do everything for you, and that there are some things that magic should not touch. And Zsofia thinks a lot about her responsibility to use her magic wisely and carefully, and is grateful to Attila and the teachings of her predecessors that have been left behind in her house. And something bad happens, as it always does in this game. Ooh, I get to reuse a word. A voice thought long gone. A current player may reuse a word. All right, what? Oh no, I deleted them from the thing. So we got storms, we got winds, and we got warms the body. Is there a lich? Yeah, there's super a lich. She takes shelter for the night in this kind of foreboding place. Most people would think her mad, but she's used to these battlefields. And while she's looking for a protected place to sleep that night, she hears a voice, and she sees the face, and she wouldn't be able to recognize it if he were not sitting in a chair above below a portrait of himself. But this is what's his name? What's a good evil dude name? Let's call him the Baron Jupan. And the Baron Jupan is there and tries to tempt her into studying with him and creating more of this awful, dark, destructive magic. Which she refuses. She's never made destructive magic before. Even her lightning storm didn't work. Hey, Dylan, welcome. I'm fighting a lich. Yeah, and she, she tries to convince him, but he won't take no for an answer. And, is this the moment for the angry cow? Dylan, I ruined your game. In that I looked at a card and thought, I looked at this card and I was like, this card summons an angry cow. Cause does this not look like an angry cow? This is an angry cow. I really want to fight a lich with an angry cow. I just feel like this game is always so extremely intense in every other time somebody plays it, and I'm just like, no, angry cows. Do I want to kill a lich with an angry cow? No, I think actually, because I can reuse a word for this, and as much as I love the idea of a lich with an angry cow, no, screw it. I may reuse a word. I don't have to reuse a word. There's definitely an angry cow. And she eats, also, because she's a baker witch, and I was like, how do I make words also baking? What she has done is that she has made cookies, with the words on them. Like spell scrolls, but instead they're cookies, and you eat the cookie and you can do the magic, and it is the best thing I've ever invented in this whole game. Magic cookies that do magic. I just need to do more baking magic in my life. But yeah, she eats this cookie, and I think she doesn't even know at this point. I mean, we should do it. We should next convention we're both at. Let's play. Let's make some spoken word cookies. Yeah, and I don't think she knows what this word means. It just came to her. They were formed from nothingness, so these words just kind of come to her, and she writes them in. She yeah, she eats this cookie in a moment of desperation, I think, as he's bearing down on her. She knows the other ones won't help her. So she's like, well, better try what Jaror is. And as she's there, she summons an angry cow. And because this is Hungarian folklore, I think this cow has like 6 horns. It's like a Highland cow. And it has like 6 horns and like 8 legs. And it breathes ice. Cause, I mean, look, as I said, I read a story about a 24-legged flying fire-breathing horse. So I feel like a 6-horned, 8-legged ice cow is totally within the spirit of Hungarian folklore. But no, I think it's also a fire-breathing cow. I like fire-breathing cow rather than a cow that freezes people. It has so many legs on a horse. Apparently that's what makes it faster, but I don't think that's how that works. Hungary. Yeah, so it's a 6-horned, 8-legged fire-breathing cow. Right? They'd be so fast. It'd be so scary, but they're not like that. So yeah, so this cow just comes and just like, I think it's not even that epic. I think the cow just arrives and burns this lich to a crisp. Like, he had defenses against a lot of things, but not fire-breathing cows. So there we go. I'm glad I got to use the fire-breathing cow. I think this was the right moment for it. But now let's go. We got 2 more places. More ruins. I love this. I love that I'm full of ruins. I keep being like, oh, I've already kind of described this thing. Sorcerer's Pass sounds a lot like the Valley of Bones, and so this Desert of Bones is a ruin. And now there's another ruin. Ithra Zaya, what lies within the ruins. Ithra Zaya. I think Ithra Zaya is actually a little town? Mood. Yes, full of ruins. It's a mood. Ithra Zaya is a little town that has been rebuilt out of the ruins of this ancient battle. It's still very much looks like a city that was once sacked and ruined. There's fallen columns of marble and other huge stone everywhere. And people have built homes in the foundations using different wood and stone on this old ruined stuff. And so it's all kind of a patchwork of new building on the old. And she knows that she is close to close to this college of wizardry. And in fact, she knows that the college is in this town somewhere, and all she has to do is find it. And then something bad happens. These are all the, like, I got some real bads right at the beginning, and now these are all like, eh. I was really hoping I got this card. Yo, we got some more Hungarian dragons. My favorite people. So Heldenhar, the slumbering dragon. Yeah. Yes. So, friendly. Time for another dragon pal. Am I gonna make friends with this dragon? I did make friends with this dragon last time. And we did fight a dragon in Lost. Napping 7-headed motherfucker. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think Heldenhar is like... I think he's like Snorlax. How many heads does he have? Oh, this is the wrong one for me to look up that stuff. Wrong window. Sargani. Yeah. Tell me how many heads it has. It's often 7. Oh no. Most cases, these dragons have 6, 9, 12, or 24 heads. I kind of just want a 24-headed dragon. So let's do it. There's a 24-headed dragon. And he's not riding a horse this time. No, he's definitely riding a horse. Hungary, why are you like this? Bless you. Yeah, so I think... No, I don't think he's on a horse. I think he's just, like, fallen asleep in the middle of the road to the college as kind of a, like, this is a test you have to make. But sometimes he's not there. Sometimes he's awake and he's, like, off riding his horse. And his horse is, like, on a stable. Zsofia is like, well, I don't want to wake up a 24-headed dragon, because dragons are mercurial, and I don't know if this 24-headed dragon is a morning person, You know, if even one of its 24 heads is not a morning person, that could go badly. Uh, so she's gonna eat her cookie, her Relbor cookie, and she's just gonna try and fly over him. Let's roll a dice. Aha. So it is temporary. Weak and only partially effective. Okay, so I think what happens is she gets over like 12 of the heads. Yeah, she gets over like 12 of the heads before the magic fails. And she's like, well, you know, this was my first time making a flight spell. So she's not really like disappointed in any of her magic failing because, or not any of her magic, but in a lot of this magic failing because she's trying new stuff. These are her like experimental cookies. And so, yeah, it doesn't quite work. And then she has to like kind of very carefully inch her way through the rest of these 12 sleeping dragon heads, trying not to step on them. And it's very hard and stressful work. And she wakes one up just as she's coming up, and as it lifts its head, she ducks under it and runs away. And it gets extremely angry and kind of like blows fire at her, and her back feels uncomfortably warm as she's running away from this dragon that is now extremely angry and is making very scary roaring sounds behind her back. And the last location before we get to the library, the library is in the Gilded Reef. So I think, what did we call the other place? Itrazara or something, right? Oh yeah, I did this wrong. Yeah. Ithrazara. Ithrazara. Ithrazaya. Thank you. Thank you for telling me what your made-up word was. Is a coastal town. Something Real Hungry does not have. And there's you know on the cliff of it's a good made up word. No shade on your made up words. I don't know if I could make up a word that sounds that cool in magic. But it's on like it's on. No, I don't think it's on a cliff. I think it's like in a cove, and the college is kind of like built. The back of the college is kind of, part of it is like built into the side of a wall of a cliff. Yeah. She gets there, and she comes across Ishtvan. And he says, well, I saw you go past Heldenhar. And she's like, yeah, I sure did that. And he goes, and he asks her why she's here, and she says, I'm looking for my friend Ferenc. He was supposed to come here. Have you seen him? And Ishtvan smiles and says, oh yes, young Ferenc is traveling, or is proving his worth right now. And She says, so he's alive. And Istvan kind of says, for now. And she goes, I need to see him. I need to go get him. He needs to come home. Attila sent me. And Istvan kind of says, Attila sent you too. And she goes, yes, I'm Tisa's witch. And he kind of gets this, like, amused look in his eye of, like, very interesting. And he says, well, you must prove yourself before I am allowed to let you in. And she says, in order to do that, because he wasn't super impressed by her flight, of course. And she says, in order to do that, I'm going to need your kitchen. And he's kind of like, excuse me? And just as that happens, something happens. A spreading blight. All I have is an instant messaging dragonfly. So I have to solve this with an instant messaging dragonfly. Yeah, a spreading blight. So... Okay. Let's just lean into the camp of this game. So Heldenhar, this 24-headed dragon that is extremely grumpy and was waking up before its nap time and is now blowing fire and things are catching on fire, and people are kind of running away, and it's a very bad temper tantrum. And Istvan, before he can even, like, say anything, is like, oh, please wait, I have to go find Ilona, or I have to get in contact with Ilona, the fairy queen, because only the music of the fairies can calm this dragon. And Zsofia feels extremely bad. Hey, welcome. Yeah, Zsofia feels extremely bad because it's her fault the dragon woke up. And she's like, well, maybe I could bake it a cake, but or maybe some cupcakes, and I could have, like, one thing for each. Trying to figure out what to do, how to calm this dragon. And when Istvan says that the only thing that could calm the dragon is the music of Ilona, or the music of the fairies, and he has to contact the fairy queen Ilona, she thinks, I have that one spell. I was going to use it to talk to Ferenc, but I think this is more important. So she's going to eat her final cookie, her final spell cookie. It is Yarun. And hopefully we get to see the Hungarian fairy queen. It's me, I'm the Hungarian fairy. No, I'm not. But I mean, I kind of am. We do it! We do it! We win! So this, like, beautiful dragonfly, what happens is she eats the cookie and she says, Ilona, help us. And as she talks, as she says the words, this beautiful iridescent dragonfly flies out of her mouth, and sends the message kind of like into the ether across the waves, and it only takes a few minutes before all around the city this beautiful, calming, ethereal music starts to appear, or starts to appear. We start hearing it, and it calms the dragon, and the dragon, one by one, its heads start to fall asleep. And even Zsofia feels like a little, not sleepy, but a little bit calmer, a little more rested. Like this music has just refreshed and calmed the emotions of everybody who hears it. And Istvan looks at her and says, "Impressive." And she goes, "I just make cookies." And he goes, You'll have to make me some more. I think Ferenc is just about done." And as we come in, there's sounds as they walk in to the college. There's sounds of a fight, and she can hear Bela barking, and Bela runs to her and then pulls, like in that dog way, drags her over to down to the amphitheater where Ferenc has just struck the has just passed out after stopping himself from killing Arpad, and the two spend some time together in the college, healing. They spend the night, and Zsofia makes him just so much food. She gets like full Eastern European lady, like, oh god, he's extremely injured and my food is magic, so you must eat all of my food right now. There is no room in my fridge being my bag, or the college's fridge. You must eat all now. You're too skinny. You almost died. Please eat. And Arpad is detained, and Istvan assures Ferenc that he will be put to trial for his tampering. When Zsofia when Zsofia has stopped feeding Ferenc, and they finally have a moment alone, Zsofia, scratching Bela behind the ears, says, "Ferenc, it's time for you to go home. Clara misses you, and so does Attila." And then, we go in reverse order, playing our location cards and talking about the path home. Before they leave, Ferenc and Zsofia spend some time walking along the beach, and he explains, and Bela is of course there. Bela was extremely upset that he was not allowed to go into the labyrinth with Ferenc, and is now never ever going to leave Ferenc's side ever. But so the three of them walk down the beach, and Ferenc explains his journey, explains his history with Attila, Zsofia explains kind of her journey, how she's been learning from Attila, that Attila is his consciousness is in fact still in the house, which Ferenc is surprised and pleased to hear. And the conversation kind of like devolves into idle chit chat. She updates him on the gossip. They complain about the weird things that Attila does when he's teaching them. And there's a little bit of a tension of there have never been two fully not licensed, but two witches in a town when one was an apprentice. There's never been two full witches in a town. It's just not done. But neither of them want to leave. Neither of them want the other to leave, and neither of them want to talk about it right now. They go through the city. As they leave, Istvan shows them kind of like a side entrance, so that they can just avoid Heldenhar, our dragon. Our toddler, 24-headed toddler dragon. And Bela starts to take quite a shine to Zsofia. It might have something to do with all of the baked goods that she made in the college kitchen before she left. Some of them being especially for dogs. But he spends almost just as much time with Zsofia. I keep clicking that and not meaning to. What is this one? Please tell me. Desert of Lost Bones. So I think the angry cow is still there. This fire-breathing, 8-legged, 6-horned cow. And Ferenc and Bela are like, oh my god, what? This is awful and bad and awful. And they're like ready to like run away or attack, but Zsofia just kind of waves to the cow, and the cow just kind of like back to her. And yeah, they just have there's like a little puff of smoke comes out of its nostrils. And yeah. Ferenc kind of looks at her quizzically, and she says, "Look, I'm still trying to figure out the offensive magic thing." And he kind of like nods in understanding, but not really understanding, just kind of like, yeah, maybe you should stick to just like buffing people. This time at the river, the siblings are both not there. The two siblings that they saw, and this like young kid is there, rowing the boat, rowing them back, and Zsofia asks after the siblings, and he says, and the kid says, "Oh, they have just been sleeping for like days. They just wake up and they eat and they sleep, and I think they really need the sleep. And Zsofia agrees. And that night, she stays kind of in their roadhouse. Or they both stay in their roadhouse, and she makes them all like a little thing of her red currant cakes that give energy. Sorceress Pass. This time, as they're walking through this battlefield, she is extremely happy to feel the dead air and no magic. And Ferenc is really taken by her, just by her in general, but by her ease of walking through this field where there's no magic and the air feels dead and quiet. And one of these strange, dark blood unicorns comes up to her and kind of, blows air in her face and bows its head in such a way that in submission, and she's confused, and Ferenc looks at the unicorn and looks at her and says, and looks at Bela and says, there's some kind of empathetic connection going on, and he says, the unicorn thinks you look tired, and that you should, and that it will grant you passage across this land. And she looks at the unicorn and she says, yeah, but what about Ferenc? And the horse kind of or the unicorn kind of snorts. And Ferenc turns red and says, the unicorn says it can carry both of us. And so they both get on this horse. Ferenc is quite a great deal bigger than her. So she sits in the front and he sits in the back and kind of doesn't need to guide the horse, but extremely trepidatiously settles his hands near or around her hips. And neither of them speak for a very long time. They are both extremely red. And every so often, Bela, who's walking along the ground, is looking at Ferenc like he is, like if a dog could laugh at you, Bela is laughing. And eventually, this causes Ferenc to laugh, which causes Zsofia to laugh, and they ease into a discussion and ease a little more into Mudley.gif. Yeah, totally that. and ease into the position that they are. So by the end of this trip through the battlefield, Zsofia has kind of leaned against his chest a little more. And just at the edge of the field, the unicorn lets them off, lets them off. Once again, blows air in Zsofia's face, and bows its head in submission and walks off. And Zsofia looks back at Ferenc, who is staring at home at the Haro Hall for the first time in a very long time, and almost is nervous in that way that you get nervous when you come home after a long trip and you are so very different from before. And Zsofia notices his hesitation, and she turns back and reaches out her hand to him and says, "Come, we've all missed you so much." And Ferenc smiles and takes her hand, and Bela runs happily ahead as they walk into the outskirts of Tisa. And that is the story of Zsofia Biro's adventure. What are Zsofia's words? My words. My words bring us together. Oh. That's the story of Zsofia Biro. Yeah. Gosh, this game is real good, Dylan. I once again managed to make this game not extremely tragic, and in fact had angry cows and toddler dragons. So totally extremely possible to not have a sad game playing Spoken Magic. I have decided. But yeah, this has been Spoken Magic by Anarasis, who's here in chat. It is part of the Games for One or More bundle. If you are watching this on the VODs, I've just put the link in chat. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'm going to put the link in the description. This is the last week to get this bundle. You've now seen 6 of the 7 games. And I've played now all 7 of these games at least once, and they are incredible. Really good experiences. Really good experiences on their own, but as you can see, they work super nicely together. I've told this really, really lovely story about these two people, created this really beautiful world, come up with some extremely cool magic, and like the possibilities for this are super endless. Um, yeah, please don't sleep on this bundle. It's extremely good. Um, I will be back for the very last game in the bundle. On Thursday, we will be playing The Page I Didn't Write, which is a game that I wrote. And you should definitely watch that live if you can, because if you want to see the whole game and everything I play, that's the only time you can do it. Because the way The Page I Didn't Write works, you're not going to see a lot of that content is going to disappear forever once the VOD disappears. So, yeah, we'll have to find that out. But yeah, that's the last game. I not sure who the letter is going to be to or from yet. But I got a couple days to figure that out, and then I will be back again on Saturday playing more Nancy Drew Treasure in the Royal Tower, which is both French and Wisconsin. It's from Bela. Bela writes the letter. Maybe I'll do that. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Dylan, so much for this game. Thank you, Q, so much for your game. Thank you to all of the creators for these games. I've had a really lovely experience. The Page I Didn't Write is going to be more of an epilogue, so this is really the end of the story of the journey of Zsofia, coming from not knowing what to do with her life in Baratsk to the amazing things she's accomplished and the direction that she has reached in Tisa, and the things that Ferenc and Bela have accomplished. I don't know. I love all of these. I love this campaign a lot. It's meant a whole lot to me. Yeah, I feel real good. I will, I will see y'all very, very soon. I'm JL_Nicegall on Twitter. I am Starving Soubrette on Twitch and YouTube. Please, if you like this game, if you like the streaming stuff that I do, please check out my Patreon or my Ko-fi. If you want to support me, patrons get to have a little bit of a say in what I stream, and that's gonna change in a little bit very soon. So if you want to find out more about that, definitely subscribe to my Patreon at least the $3 level. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you on Thursday. Bye, friends.